He thought it was gone, forever, until Captain Marvel held it like she was born for it. But she didn't lift Mjolnir to protect Earth. She lifted it to challenge the gods themselves. Thor fell, not in battle, but in betrayal. The Avengers split when they learned the truth. A war began not against aliens, but against each other. And Captain Marvel was no longer Earth's mightiest hero, but its deadliest mistake. The sky tore open over the Arctic. What began as a shimmer in the ionosphere cracked into a storm of fire and electricity, ripping a hole in Earth's atmosphere. Thor had seen rifts before, but never one that pulsed with Asgardian runes. Without waiting for backup, he soared through the tear, Stormbreaker crackling in hand, and emerged into the void. What he saw made even the god of thunder hesitate. There, standing in the vacuum of space, without armor, without a ship, without fear, was Captain Marvel. Her hands weren't glowing. Her eyes weren't burning. She wasn't even moving. She was holding Mjolnir, and the hammer was glowing red. Thor hovered closer. Mjolnir was not just levitating. It was pulsing like it had a heartbeat. The weapon forged for gods was humming with energy he didn't recognize. Not Odin's blessing, not even the echoes of the enchantments he once knew. Something older, something colder. How? Thor's voice wavered in the vacuum. How did you? Carol didn't blink. It came to me. That's not possible. I didn't ask. She turned. Not aggressive, not defensive, but something in her eyes was different. As if she wasn't surprised. As if she had expected it. Thor tried to reach for the hammer, but Mjolnir twitched in her hand like a wild beast. It almost snapped at him. He pulled back. Mjolnir had never disobeyed him. Even when unworthy, it had simply stayed still. But this wasn't stillness. This was possession. Carol, he said, quieter this time. That's not a gift. That's a warning. S.H.I.E.L.D. picked up the signal within minutes. Energy levels higher than the sun. Nick Fury activated every deep space satellite, and Tony Stark's backup protocols began recording fragments from the void. Doctor Strange meditated in the sanctum as the multiverse itself quivered. The hammer's aura wasn't just Asgardian. It was celestial, hybrid, contaminated. Back on Earth, the Avengers gathered. She's a friend, Banner said. She was, Black Panther corrected. But that hammer, it only answers to one thing. Worthiness. Sam Wilson asked. No. Memory. Captain Marvel returned to Earth in silence. No media appearance. No speech. No Avengers Tower landing. She touched down on the edge of the old battlefield where Thor once fought Hela. The crater still remembered lightning, but now it echoed with something else. She stood in the center and raised Mjolnir. Lightning didn't strike. Instead, the sky inverted. The clouds bent upward. The birds stopped mid-flight. Gravity paused like it forgot how to breathe. Mjolnir responded, not like a tool, like a gate. Thor arrived in a flash of thunder, body tense, armor half-formed. You know what you're doing? He asked. Carol looked up. Do you? Mjolnir twisted in her grip, not violently, but with intention, as if responding to something beneath the ground, beneath the realm. You're waking it up, Thor said. I'm not waking it, she replied. It called me because it was already awake. Thor gritted his teeth. It's Asgardian. It shouldn't respond to your blood. Maybe it's not responding to blood. She lifted it higher. Mjolnir's head opened, not shattered, not broken, but opened like a flower blooming for the first time in centuries. Inside, the light was not golden. It was red and alive, and it whispered. Thor stepped forward. That's not Odin's enchantment. No, she said. It's older than Odin, and it remembers something about me that you've all forgotten. Thunder cracked, but no storm came. Strange arrived next. A portal carved into the dirt, windless but ominous. I sensed something wrong, he said. Carol didn't move. Strange held up his hand. This is more than a weapon now. That hammer contains an intersection of time, space, and will. You're bending something that doesn't like to be bent. Carol looked over her shoulder. Then maybe it shouldn't have come to me. The moment stretched. Then Thor snapped. He launched himself forward, spinning Stormbreaker with full force, striking Mjolnir midair. The blast that erupted shattered every window within 100 miles. Thor was thrown backward into the side of a mountain, cracking it open like a shell. Carol didn't flinch. Mjolnir hadn't budged. It was holding her now. Back at Avengers HQ, Vision ran simulations. Frame by frame, analysis showed Mjolnir wasn't just enchanted anymore. Something had fused with it. Something extraterrestrial. Not Kree, not Skrull, not even celestial in origin. It was rewriting itself. Or worse, rewriting the concept of worthiness altogether. Carol sat alone atop the ruins of an old shield site that night, the hammer resting beside her like a sleeping beast. She wasn't afraid of it. She was afraid of how natural it felt, as if it had always been hers. Memories returned, not battles, not glory, but fragments. A name whispered in a forgotten dialect, a world that was erased, and a promise she never remembered making. She heard footsteps. Thor, bruised but calmer now, approached quietly. "I tried to wield it again," he said, "after you left. And it didn't move." Carol looked up. "It doesn't obey you anymore." He paused. "It doesn't obey you either. It's choosing. But I don't know what for." "I think," she said slowly, "it's not choosing a hero." Thor frowned. "Then what is it choosing?" She closed her eyes. "It's choosing God." And in that moment, across the stars, in the dead black of a forgotten realm, the root of Yggdrasil shivered. It had been touched, and it remembered her. The Avengers didn't meet in the tower. They met underground. Tony's backup AI replayed the satellite footage on loop. Captain Marvel standing inside the crater, the hammer glowing red, the air warping around her like reality was thinning. It wasn't just power. It was rewriting everything it touched. "She's not unstable," Banner said. "She's evolving." "Worse," Strange muttered, arms folded. "She's awakening something buried in that weapon, and she doesn't know what's attached to it." Thor said nothing. He hadn't said anything since the mountain cracked. It wasn't shame. It was recognition. Mjolnir hadn't just disobeyed him. It had rejected him completely, like he never existed. Wakanda's satellites went dark for 2 minutes that same night. When they came back online, a flash of energy resembling Bifrost's signature had been recorded. Only it wasn't coming from Asgard. It was coming out of Carol. The hammer was letting her summon doors between realms. And she wasn't asking anyone's permission. Deep inside New Asgard, Valkyrie stood beside a sealed vault. Ancient, engraved with golden warnings. The kind of script even Thor didn't speak anymore. She ran her hand across the lock. Odin's voice echoed from the stones. Should Mjolnir ever leave the path of balance? Should it ever awaken the root buried within? The one who lifts it must face the trial of memory. Thor turned away, but he knew. The trial had already begun. Carol wasn't just wielding the hammer. She was becoming the thing Odin warned them about. The bridge between forgotten gods and the future of power. The next day, she appeared in Cairo. Not for a battle, not for a threat, but for a conversation. Doctor Strange met her in the shadow of an ancient temple, one laced with ley lines, a place where space bent to intention. Carol stood calm, the hammer resting beside her on the sand, half buried like a sleeping relic. "You've changed," Strange said. "No," she replied. "The world has." Strange floated above the ground, eyes glowing. "If you keep pulling on the threads of this hammer's memory, you'll unravel more than the past. I'm not afraid of what's behind me." "It's not what's behind you, Carol. It's what's underneath." He raised a hand to cast a mirror spell, not to trap her, but to show her. The mirror dimension opened like a wound. It didn't reflect her body. It reflected her possibilities. And every single version of her was carrying the hammer. In one, she ruled the Kree Empire. In another, she floated above a shattered moon, burning with cosmic fire. In the last, she sat on a throne made of fractured timelines, and the universe bowed to her. Carol looked into them without fear, then raised the hammer and broke the mirror from the inside. Not cracked, not shattered, destroyed. Strange fell backward, breath stolen. That shouldn't have been possible. Mjolnir pulsed once, and the red glow shifted. It wasn't just reacting to her power. It was syncing with it. She was imprinting her will into the hammer's core. No longer just worthy. Now rewriting what worthy means. Back in space, Iron Man's emergency drones followed her energy trail to a cosmic graveyard, a belt of broken celestial relics, once hidden from time. There, she found what she wasn't supposed to find: the forge of the vanished root, carved by Odin, sealed by Yggdrasil, forgotten by everyone except the hammer. She stood inside it, surrounded by ruins that echoed with divine purpose. Mjolnir began to hum, not as a weapon, as a key. Her vision blurred, not with fatigue, but with download. Memories of beings she never met, a language she never learned, a promise whispered to her soul long before she was born. She dropped to her knees, and the root awakened. In New Asgard, Thor collapsed at the same moment. Blood leaked from his nose. He clutched his head. "She's touching the root," he gasped. "The first power, the part even Odin buried. She's unlocking it." Valkyrie tried to steady him. "If she gets through, she won't survive it," Thor whispered. "But if she does, we won't survive her." Carol rose from the forge, her body glowing with two colors, now red from the hammer and silver from the root. It wasn't godhood, it was authorship. The hammer was now responding to her emotions, not just her strength. Rage made it flame, doubt made it flicker, hope made it scream. She tested it once, raised it toward the stars, and tore a clean line through space. Not a blast, a rewrite, a stitch in reality. She wasn't attacking anymore. She was editing. The Avengers held one last emergency vote: to confront, to contain, or to destroy. Hulk stood. "She's our friend." Black Panther replied. So was Wanda. Only one vote mattered. Thor stood, bruised and silent. He walked to the center of a chamber. "She took the hammer because it needed her," he said. "But she kept it because we failed her." He turned to the room. "I will go." "No backup," Strange said. "She won't listen with an army. She'll only listen to someone who remembers what it felt like to be lost." He stepped through the Bifrost for the last time. On the edge of Saturn's broken moon, he found her, floating, eyes closed, Mjolnir beside her, now no longer a hammer, but something shifting, morphing, a hybrid. It didn't even resemble Asgardian metal anymore. He didn't speak. She opened her eyes. "I can feel it breathing," she said. Thor nodded. "You're not fighting anymore," he said. "You're listening." She looked down at the thing in her hand. "It doesn't want to be a weapon. It wants to remember." "And what does it remember?" "That we were never meant to be heroes," she said. "We were meant to be lessons." Thor stepped forward. "Then tell me, Carol, what have we learned?" She raised the hammer, and it whispered a single word across the galaxy. Something ancient, something terrifying, something new. And for the first time in millennia, Thor felt the echo of fear in the roots of Yggdrasil. The trial wasn't over. It was only beginning. The hammer no longer answered to commands. It moved with thought, pulsed with intention, and spoke through silence. When Captain Marvel floated above Saturn's shattered moon, Mjolnir twisted in her hand like it was alive, because it was. She didn't swing it anymore. She listened to it, and what it whispered wasn't in any language she'd ever known. It was older than words, older than time. Back on Earth, Stark's last backup drone recorded what no one wanted to believe. Captain Marvel was bending the edge of Saturn's ring with gravity alone. Not with the hammer, not with strength, not even with energy blasts, but with will. Space curled around her like it feared her. Thor stood in New Asgard, still reeling. He traced Odin's old runes along the stone vault beneath the temple. Mjolnir was supposed to contain a fragment of Yggdrasil's root, locked and sealed away, forever inert. It was meant to make the wielder worthy by forcing them to face their worst memory, their deepest shame, their forgotten truth. But with Carol, it didn't stop there. She didn't just remember, she merged with it. And now, the hammer wasn't just enchanted, it was aware. Doctor Strange had seen futures fracture before, but never like this. Every attempt to scry Captain Marvel's timeline returned only static, distortion, and something far worse. a shadow, a massive, unfathomable silhouette wrapped in light. It didn't have a face, but it had a name, not spoken, not written, remembered. And every time Strange tried to focus on it, his spells bled red and silver, just like the hammer. He summoned Wong, then the rest of the mystics. The consensus was horrifying. Something inside the hammer wasn't just old, it had precedence. It existed before the multiverse, before Asgard, before even the Eternals. Whatever she unlocked, it was rewriting cosmic order from beneath the code of reality. And it was using her mind as the template. Carol, meanwhile, was searching, not for enemies, not for answers, for confirmation. She flew beyond the solar system, beyond the star maps, to an off-grid quadrant known as the Forgotten Belt, a stretch of collapsed stars and lost satellites. Here, time didn't flow the same. She stopped at a floating ruin, the skeleton of an ancient temple built by a race wiped out long before humans drew breath. Inside, she found carvings, not of warriors, of her, or something that looked like her, a figure surrounded by cosmic threads, holding a weapon in one hand and light itself in the other. The walls glowed as she approached. The hammer vibrated, and her memories returned, not from this life, from before. Images flashed through her mind, not dreams, not hallucinations, experiences. She was standing on a battlefield under two suns. She wasn't Carol. She wasn't Kree. She was something else. Her eyes glowed not with energy, but with memory. She raised the same hammer, Mjolnir, but older, rawer, etched with different runes, and struck the ground. Planets moved, gods fled, and the stars bent. In the real world, her body shook. She dropped to her knees inside the ruins, and the hammer wept. It spilled light, not in streaks, in words, not spoken, not heard, understood. The hammer had belonged to her once, in another timeline, in another form. She hadn't just been chosen by it now, she had forged it once. It was returning to its creator, or its reincarnation. She rose slowly, feeling the shift, not just in her strength, in her essence. She wasn't Captain Marvel anymore. She was becoming the echo of something ancient. Back on Earth, Strange met with Thor again. She's pulling from the root's deepest layer now, Strange said. This isn't Odin's magic. It predates the 9 realms. It was never meant to be accessed, Thor muttered. Father warned us. He didn't warn anyone, Strange snapped. He buried it, covered it in riddles, and enchanted a hammer to sit on top of it like a lid. And now she's opened the lid. And what's inside? Thor asked. Strange hesitated. The truth. And what does that mean? I think she's remembering a version of the universe before the gods wrote their rules. Across the galaxy, Carol returned to the edge of existence, where the light from the first star still echoed faintly in the void. Here, she let the hammer guide her. It pointed toward nothing. Then, reality cracked. Not visually, not like a mirror, but inside her mind. She saw herself countless times, each one holding the hammer, each one failing. Until now, this version of her, this Carol, was the one who finally broke the cycle, the one who remembered enough to continue what the others started, to finish what was interrupted eons ago, to rewrite the order of power, to restore what the gods had stolen, not from her, from the universe itself. Back in New Asgard, the roots of Yggdrasil were screaming. Thor could hear them in his bones. The tree wasn't in pain. It was waking up, because someone had found its first spark. A signal went out from the hammer, untraceable, unstoppable. It traveled faster than time, slicing through dimensions like needles through silk. And across galaxies, ancient ones stirred. Not villains, not heroes, witnesses, entities who had seen the first memory buried, entities who had watched Odin hide it, entities who remembered what Carol was becoming. And they did not cheer. They prepared. Because if she remembered everything, she would become something not even eternity could contain. She would become the original version of worthy, a concept no god could control, and a power no world could survive unscathed. The Avengers found her at the edge of the cosmos, where no stars dared burn and no maps existed. She was standing on a broken platform of golden metal, floating in the void, not drifting anchored. Below her, the forge once known as Infinity's heart shimmered. Long abandoned, it was where the first concepts of power had been formed: time, will, force, and memory. Now, Carol stood at its center, and Mjolnir was no longer a hammer. It had bloomed into a staff of shifting light and red flame, wrapped in raw rootwork pulled from the base of Yggdrasil. She held it like it was an extension of her spine. Thor arrived first. "You don't have to do this," he said. She didn't turn. "I already did." Tony's voice echoed through Iron Man's last drone. "Carol, whatever you're about to unlock, Earth won't survive it." "This was never about Earth," she said. From behind, Strange, Hulk, and Sam emerged through a multiverse corridor cracked open by the sling ring. They came as a final plea, not an attack. But the hammer pulsed. Once, reality shimmered. A field of light rippled out in every direction, non-lethal but overwhelming. Hulk fell to his knees. Strange dropped his spell. Even Thor felt his heartbeat slow, almost stop. She didn't touch anyone. The staff didn't strike. Her memory did. The root had fully integrated into her. Every version of herself across timelines, lifetimes, rebirths, and deaths, all now flowing through one body, one mind, one weapon. "I finally understand," she said. It wasn't about who's worthy to wield the hammer. It was about who's ready to remember what it cost. Thor took a slow step forward, then put it down. "Let it go." Carol turned to face him, and Mjolnir obeyed her before she even moved. The staff retracted to a blade of burning memory. She raised it, slow, deliberate. "Not to kill, to warn." "You never asked why Odin sealed the root," she said. Thor said nothing. Because if anyone remembered what the universe was before gods, they'd stop worshiping them. A pulse exploded outward, not from her, but from the forge itself. It recognized her, accepted her. Iron Man's drone tried to scan it and disintegrated instantly. Doctor Strange reached out to freeze time. The staff shimmered and rejected time. Reality buckled. Strange collapsed. Carol's body hovered an inch above the forge. Her eyes were pure red. Her veins shimmered with silver fire. Mjolnir had written her name into its history now. Not engraved, integrated. Carol Danvers is no longer the wielder. A voice echoed from the forge's heart. She is now the archive. The forge released its final gift. A surge of energy unlike anything the Avengers had faced. Not destruction, restoration. Every false law Odin encoded into the hammer's rune erased. Every spell bent toward royal bloodlines deleted. The hammer was reborn not as a weapon of gods, but as a relic of memory. It no longer judged the worthy. It remembered the forgotten, and Carol was its vessel. The light died down. She fell to her knees, breathing heavy. Thor caught her before she collapsed. "I tried to stop you," he whispered. "I know," she said. "Did you win?" She looked into the stars, and the stars blinked first. The earth was cracking, not from bombs, not from war, from time folding in on itself. Every law Carol had undone, every truth she had restored, began unraveling reality. Gravity reversed in moments. Oceans paused mid-tide. Entire nations experienced flashes of forgotten timelines. Cities no longer built. Children no longer born. Empires that never fell flickered into existence. Mjolnir pulsed against her spine. The hammer, now fully merged with the root, was trying to stabilize it. But the problem was never power. It was choice. And now Earth needed one more. Carol hovered above the collapsing sky, breathing heavily, her eyes flickering between red and white. The stars behind her bent unnaturally, as if even light feared what she had become. The Avengers watched from the tower. She hadn't saved them. She had shaken the foundation of what they were built on. And now the cost was coming home. Thor stood alone atop the ruins of the Bifrost terminal. The old magic was gone. The branches of Yggdrasil were brittle, but he could still hear it whispering. Not to him, to her. She must choose, the root told him. Memory or mercy? Not both. Carol heard it too. She drifted toward Earth's core, not physically, but mentally, through the layers of everything she'd undone. The wars erased, the children restored, the weapons never created, the history that never happened. She could keep it that way, or she could seal it, restore the old lie, let the universe forget again. And in that moment, she chose neither. She whispered something to the root, something only the hammer heard, and Mjolnir reacted with a pulse of light that spread across the globe. It wasn't a weapon blast. It was a rewrite, but not to the past, to the rules. Carol didn't seal the rift. She didn't destroy the hammer. She didn't return things to the way they were. She created a third path, a memory layer, one that lives just below reality, one that only those truly connected to the hammer, or the root, can sense. A memory of the universe where truth still breathes, where forgotten voices still echo, and where choice is eternal. The collapse stopped. The sky stilled. Time breathed in, then out. Earth was safe, not because it was saved, but because it was remembered. Captain Marvel drifted down to the ground, her body burned, her power quiet, the hammer now silent at her side. It looked like Mjolnir again, heavy, humble, sleeping. Thor met her at the base of the hill. "You didn't destroy it," he said. Carol shook her head. "That was never the answer. You didn't save Earth either." "No," she replied. "I gave Earth a chance to save itself." He looked at her, really looked, for the first time not as a god, but as someone humbled. "What do we call you now?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "Not a hero." The hammer pulsed once, softly, as if agreeing. Then she placed it gently on the ground and walked away. No explosion, no exit through light, just steps. Mjolnir sat alone, quiet, embedded halfway in the soil, until a breeze passed, and it vanished. Not flown, not stolen, simply moved, somewhere else, to someone else, waiting for the next memory that needs to be remembered.